Who can forget that immortal classic, Bridge of Sighs, by Robin Trower? Robin Trower, released in 1974. 74 was kind of an epic year for music releases. 1974 was also when Led Zeppelin 4 was released. Um, this song is more known for that tone, that uni-vibe. That effect you're hearing in the background is uni-vibe. And he just used it so tastefully musically. He used it as a part of the music instead of it just being frosting on the cake. It was the foundation for the sound. Um, and the univibe effect in and of itself is, I mean, it's not something you use for everything, but when you do use it, it does make an impact. So unique. I'm using my ME80 for this. It's got a univibe effect on it, which is really effective. It sounds really, really good. I'm using the delay from the ME80, but I'm using my reverb from my big processor over here, my 3D, the Virtualizer 3D. Great unit. But the song itself, to understand why it had such an impact, you have to look at the song in the context of the time. We look at it today as a classic. It wasn't always a classic. It was new in 1974. And 1974, leading up to 1974, there were a great many very influential guitarists that Trower had been listening to. Trower was in Procol Harum, as you know, played guitar in Procol Harum, and broke away and decided to do his own thing. In the context of that, at the time that he's beginning to start recording on his own, you've got Jimmy Page, Jimi Hendrix, you've got David Gilmour, and you've got a lot of very influential guitar players that are bringing American blues that's been turned on its head to the American people. It was British artists, honestly, that introduced America to American blues. We didn't really pay much attention to it. Blues as a genre back in the 70s, 60s, and 70s was not something that, a lot of just broad fans gravitated to. It was a very specialized sort of genre. You had to like the blues to discover, to find the good stuff. Well, Trower and a lot of other guitar players took their version of American blues, a more modern blues, okay, and brought that to the masses like Jimmy Page did, but again, he's British. David Gilmour did. I mean, at the time, there were Eric Clapton. Eric Clapton learned the blues by listening to American blues players. There were no British blues players. He was it, sort of. So, Robin Trower, when he wrote the song, one of the stories that I read was it literally started with that univibe effect. He wanted to be able to play very sparsely, very kind of laid back, sort of subdued, but he wanted the music to be able to ring really, really well. Now, it's done as a three-piece, guitar, bass, and drums. Bass player sings, and drummer in the background. Bass player's doing this really cool sort of E7, E minor groove in the background while Trower's playing, it's very simple chords. It's not very difficult. This is just an E minor 7 that you hear in the very beginning. He goes to that A and bends it a little bit, down to the G, and then back to the E. Those are very simple. That little run itself is a very simple kind of a bluesy thing, but he wanted to get the most for his money, the most impact with the fewest notes possible, and boy, did he kill it. He just killed it on this song. All of the licks that you're hearing Trower play during Bridge of Sighs while the vocal's going on, not the actual sort of guitar solo, but all those notes, all those little riffs that he's playing, they're just very basic blues riffs, but played very sparsely for maximum impact. And he does get that. He gets maximum impact. He uses what I call the the wave over and the scoop under a lot of times, and that's where you start here on your root note, which in this case is E. Now here's the scoop under to go back to the E. That's the scoop under. And he also does the scoop over. You hear that quite a bit. There's the wave over, right? To the root, and the scoop under. And when he's doing the solo part, you know, there's that long part he's playing. But he also does just a simple walk down, little pentatonic walk down. He's the real Robin Trower is like the anti-shredders of today. Robin Trower could play. He could play his ass off. He was a great blues player, great guitar player, period. But he knew instinctively when not to play. It's you know, the more common term is to let the music breathe. He's letting the music breathe, you know, these long, and especially on Bridge of Sighs, these long, deep breaths. The music just breathes very slowly, and he's just very lightly interspersing little licks and melodies and things, and they just work perfectly because he's not overplaying. He's an anti-shredder, okay? One of my favorite kind of blues players. I don't want to hear you play fast. I want to hear you play well. There's a huge difference between the two. But the uni-vibe, in conjunction with what I'm using, is a delay and a really sweet reverb. But the uni-vibe is the soul of the sound. So sweet, so pretty. And then it's a very simple chord progression through the chorus, right? He hits he goes to C major 7. Simple, you know, not difficult at all. This is not a hard song to learn how to play, because you have to learn where not to play. That's the key to this whole song. Where not to play. First, you got to have the tone. You got to have a uni-vibe for that. There's no faking that. Not the real thing, but you've got to have a good uni-vibe simulation, and I've got that in my ME80. But you got to have that uni-vibe if you're going to make that song work in any way whatsoever. And you'll notice on the broad strokes that he does, with, you know, using the tone palette, let those strings just ring out. That uni-vibe sounds fantastic, right? Because it's helping the music kind of ring through. Well, it also works really well for soloing. That's that wave over. That's a very common technique. And we scoop up to the root, to the E. It sounds equally as you know, impactful for soloing as it does for rhythm. For rhythm, it's just beautiful. Oh, is that not sweet? That's just beautiful. Okay, so little short one, little quick one. Just wanted to talk about it. I'm gonna, for you guys in the ME80 group, I'll post the patch for this. What I did was the basic sound was sort of my Stevie Ray Vaughan sound. Let me pull. I'll turn the uni-vibe off, and you can sort of hear my basic Stevie Ray Vaughan tone. And what I did was I added a little bit more gain to my Stevie tone, and then turned on the uni-vibe and set that the way that I really wanted it to go. So here's, and this is you know, my basic Stevie tone. Basic Stevie tone. And then I just turned on the uni-vibe, and I'll do it again so you can hear it. I'll turn on the uni-vibe, and then all of a sudden, that tone, while it has a lot of great character in and of itself, that tone goes to the next level with the. So nice. You got to have the uni-vibe in place. Delay and reverb to your own personal tastes. I wanted to hear a little bit of delay, just a tiny bit. I wanted to get one repeat, you know, and then that was it. I wanted it to die off because I wanted the uni-vibe is going to help to sustain the chord, but I also wanted to have the reverb in there to help sustain the chord and give it airiness. I wanted to give the impression of size. I wanted a bigger sound with it, and the uni-vibe gets me almost there, but it's the reverb. Yeah, that reverb tailing off at the very end. Oh. So nice. The idea is to let those strings, in between those riffs, you're hearing me let those strings ring out. That helps to shape the chord that you're going to, right? Like on this. It helps to fill that chord out, make it even larger. So there you go, Bridge of Sighs, Robin Trower. It impacted a lot of guitar players at the time too, because they began to understand from the lessons learned in this song were one of B.B. King's favorite sayings. You got to know when not to play. And Robin Trower did exactly that. He figured out where not to play so that every note that he did play was absolutely perfect. Everything sounded, it didn't sound like he hit a wrong note in there. Everything sounded intentional, and that's hard to do sometimes. So there you go, little quickie poo. Peace. This video, by the way, is for instruction, education, discussion, whatever. It's not meant to be a copyright infringement. I'm not trying to steal his music. I'm just trying to tell people how he got the sound and why the sound is important. So there you go.